You wake beneath the buzzards. They circle overhead, lazy, confident, because no one's moved down here in hours. Not until you do. You blink through grit. The sky splits around your lashes. Your left arm is pinned beneath someone heavier, someone not breathing. You don't remember your name yet, but you remember movement, the rattle of a stagecoach at full tilt, the sudden pitch, the whip-crack scream not from horses, but from the world turning upside down. You push the weight off your chest. It lands with a thud that doesn't echo. Everything here is too still. Your skirt is torn. Blood darkens your bodice, but it's not yours. Your shoes are gone. You find your bonnet tangled in sagebrush, a ridiculous thing to reach for, but you do, and then you touch your chest. Your corset is bruised beneath your ribs, but the packet's still there, wrapped in oilcloth, strapped beneath the linen, your father's final instructions sealed into every stitch. Do not read it. Only deliver. You don't know who it's meant for, only that you were told to guard it like breath. That was before the wheels snapped, before the driver shouted, before the man beside you reached for something metal and didn't finish the motion. You crawl out from the wreckage. 3 others lie nearby. Their necks are wrong, their faces still. The horses are gone, or dead. You can't tell which is worse. The air smells of smoke and pennies. You stand. It takes too long. The canyon is quiet now. Except for the buzzards. They're waiting. You're not giving them your name. You take 3 steps, then drop to your knees. There, in the dirt, something shines. A pocket watch. You recognize it. Parker's. The man who smiled too much. He offered you whiskey when the others were napping. You open the cover. Inside, no time. Just a cracked face. A tiny strip of folded paper. You read it. 1 line scrawled and crooked. They know what you carry. You fold the note, put it inside your blouse. You don't cry, not yet. Footsteps not yours, not hurried, measured. You stand. The sun blinds you. The man who approaches is lean, shadowed beneath a wide hat, and wrapped in sun-faded leather. He stops 10 feet away, says nothing, just looks at you, then the wreckage, then back. You say, "I'm not dead." He doesn't smile, but he nods, then tosses you a canteen. You catch it clumsily, drink too fast. Cough. He waits, then softly, "You were supposed to be." You want to ask who he is, but your voice is cracked, and the question doesn't matter yet. He walks to the bodies, checks each one, not for life, but for lies. He takes nothing, only retrieves a satchel from under the frame, slings it over one shoulder. You ask, "Why help me?" he says. "I didn't," then adds, "You moved before the buzzards did," and turns to leave. You follow, because the stage is gone. The map is gone. But the packet is still pressed to your ribs, and the man who didn't save you might be the only one who knows where you're supposed to go. Night falls before you find a place to stop. He lights a fire with bone-dry twigs. Doesn't ask for help. You sit across from him, wrap your arms around your knees. He says, "Name?" You give it. He nods, says, "Mine's Nako." Then nothing else. Not where he's from, not why he was watching. Only before sleep. Keep the letter wrapped. Ink shines at night. You don't ask how he knows what you're carrying. You just press it tighter to your chest. Close your eyes and dream of wheels turning where no road remains. The second day burns. You walk with your sleeves rolled to the elbows, corset loosened, the packet pressed flat against your spine like the second spine, one made of wax and secrets. Nako walks 10 paces ahead, never looks back, but never lets you out of sight. The canyon narrows, brush thickens, air grows dry in the wrong way, not from heat, but from silence too wide for comfort. You try to track direction, fail. The sun moves, so do your thoughts. You count every step between his footprints and yours. Every time he slows when your breath thins, He doesn't offer help, but he makes room for your pace. By noon, your feet blister. You bite down on the pain, swallow it, keep walking. He watches, says nothing. But when you stop to drink, he unrolls a cloth and hands you a pair of leather strips. Sandals, worn but intact. You take them. He adds, they were hers. You don't ask who, but you tie them tight, and you do not complain again. You reach a bluff by dusk. Below, a scatter of bones, not animal, a rusted buckle, part of a wagon wheel, a shred of fabric that might once have been blue. Nako crouches, fingers the dirt, says, they ambushed 2 more here, week ago. You ask, the same ones? He nods once, then adds, they're hunting for something. You look down at your own hands, your own boots, at the packet beneath your blouse, say, or someone. He doesn't deny it. That night he shows you how to build a fire without smoke, how to listen for dry branches snapping under something heavier than a deer, how to sit with your back to stone. You ask, how did you find me? He says, I didn't. Then adds, you're not the first they've tried to silence with a wheel. You don't ask what he means, you already know. Before sleep, you unfold your father's letter, just to look at the seal, not to read. You wouldn't break it, but your thumb grazes the edge and finds something new, a second layer of wax, thicker, cruder. You whisper, this wasn't sealed just once. Nako looks over. His eyes meet yours. You were never meant to see what's inside. You nod, say, but now I have to. He says, not yet. Then turns back toward the dark. By the 3rd morning, the pain becomes routine. Blisters give way to numbness. Your breath adjusts to the rhythm of desert air. The world stops spinning every time you stand. You've learned to move again, but smaller. Smaller movements, smaller sounds, smaller hopes. You still don't know where you're going, but you know it's forward. That's enough. Nako says you're close to a checkpoint, not a town. A telegraph pole, a shack, a horse trough. Manned. You ask, will they know me? He shrugs. They'll know who you were meant to be. That stops you. You ask, and who's that? He doesn't smile, but he says, a question worth surviving for. You crest a ridge before noon and see the shack. One man sits on the porch, rifle on his knees, too casual to be honest. Nako studies the man for a long time, then says, let me go first. You wait. He walks down the hill, moves like shadow, steps in rhythm with wind, not soil. They speak too softly for you to hear. The man stiffens, then waves once, quickly. Nako returns, says, he radioed ahead, your name's not clean. You grip the edge of your shawl, ask, then what now? He looks at the sky, then the letter, pressed to your ribs, says, now we vanish for a while. You cross through a dry wash and follow a goat trail marked with bone-white rocks. Nako says nothing for an hour, then stops beside a tree burned black by lightning. He points. Buried beneath its roots, a bundle, wrapped in cloth, sealed with cord. He opens it. Inside, 1 rusted pistol, a pouch of dried berries, a U.S. Army pin. You ask, yours? He shakes his head. Hers, then adds, they burned her for holding a map she didn't draw. You say nothing. You just press your hand to the packet on your chest and feel its weight shift again. Not heavier, not lighter, just known. That night you break the first rule. You open the packet. Nako doesn't stop you, he just watches. The wax peels away like skin. Inside, a letter. Not addressed to you, not signed, but the handwriting is your father's. You scan the words, land on a name you've never heard, and a phrase that changes everything. Rail contract fraud, whistle set for Fort Bowie. You exhale, then fold it. You don't cry, but your hands shake. Nako says, now you understand why the stage was never meant to arrive. You nod. Say, and why I can't stop walking. He replies, now you're not just a witness. You're a delivery. No one expected to walk in. The 4th day begins with vultures again. But this time, they're not circling you. You pass the carcass of a mule, bone stripped, saddle burned. Nako says nothing. You already know what it means. Someone else tried to cross this stretch. They didn't carry a letter, but maybe they carried a name. The land begins to slope upward, not steep, just steady, enough to make your knees speak in ways they didn't yesterday. Nako leads you into a canyon barely wide enough for two. The red rock curves like a throat. You feel swallowed. At the far end, an outpost. Wooden gate, small barracks, and a flag. U.S. military. Fort Bowie. You stop walking. Because now that you see it, you know what it costs to get here. You say, "What happens if I give it to the wrong man?" Nako says, "You'll vanish, just like the others did." You ask, "Then why bring me here?" He looks at you for a long time, then says, "Because maybe you won't." You're brought to a tent, given water, a wool blanket, and a name tag that isn't yours. The young officer, Morrison, is kind. Too kind. His uniform is crisp, his hands too clean. You ask to speak to the commander. He says, "Tomorrow." Then leaves. Nako doesn't enter the tent. He waits by the fence, like a tether or a witness. You read the letter again, while the fire crackles. This time you find something new, an initial in the margin. J. Same as Morrison. You stare at the tent flap where he exited. Feel your throat tighten. You whisper, "What if this place is already part of it?" The wind doesn't answer, but the fire flares like it's trying to. Later that night, you follow a gut pull. Slip out of the tent, past the guard who's already half asleep. You find the archives unlocked. No one watching. Inside, ledgers, train schedules, marriage contracts, names crossed out in red. Your father's name appears twice, once in ink, once in pencil. Beside it, de. The word disavowed. You feel your ribs tighten. Then below it, another name, Elizabeth Thornton, beside yours. Intact. Potential leak. Monitor. Your fingers shake. You leave the file open, return to the tent. You sit. You breathe. Nako doesn't say a word. But when you look out the flap, he's still there, waiting. Not to guard you, not to command you, just to remind you someone else knows what it's like to carry something no one wants to believe in until it threatens to be seen. You wake to gunfire, not close, but close enough to stop your breath. Outside, boots strike dirt. Voices bark names. Nako appears at the tent flap, doesn't speak, just holds your gaze. You nod once. Slip the letter back beneath your blouse. Lace your boots fast. By the time Morrison arrives, your face is calm. He says, "Bandits on the ridge. We've got it under control." You reply, "Is that what you said last time?" He stiffens, then leans close, whispers, "Don't read the seal again, someone else saw it." Your pulse kicks. You ask, "Who?" He doesn't answer. He leaves instead. That's louder than anything he could have said. Nako escorts you to the mess hall. He walks like a man carrying regret. You follow like someone who might finally choose to drop hers. Inside, quiet tension. Eyes linger too long. A spoon clinks too loud. A soldier's hand rests a little too naturally near his holster. Nako sits against the wall. You sit with your back to the door. Old habits from new lives. Morrison returns. He slides a folder across the table. Inside, a second version of your father's letter. Same parchment, same signature, different content. No mention of rail contracts, no accusation, just pleasantries and apologies for disruptive assumptions. You say, "It's fake." Morrison says, "It's official." You ask, "Which one will history believe?" He pauses, then says, "Whichever one survives tonight." After the meal, Morrison walks you behind the barracks. No one follows. He lights a cigarette, offers you none, then speaks low. "My sister vanished 5 years ago on a stagecoach bound for Phoenix. She was carrying court documents for a widowed schoolteacher. The driver survived. No one else did." You ask, "Why tell me this?" He flicks the ash, then says, "Because I've seen this before," but never from the inside. He hands you a key, says, "Storage locker, northern fence," then walks away. You don't ask Nako to follow, but he does. You open the locker. Inside, a horse bridle, 2 canteens, a bag of ammunition, and a map. Your father's route, annotated in pencil, with arrows leading west. At the bottom, a symbol, one you recognize from his notebooks. It means, continue. You say, "He planned for this." Nako replies, "They always plan. It's who they forget that changes things." You close the locker, grip the key tight, and whisper, "Then let's remind them." You leave before dawn. No goodbye, no light, no note. Only the letter tucked between ribs and lungs. Only the map burned into memory. Nako meets you at the west fence. He doesn't ask if you're ready, because readiness isn't something you arrive at. It's something you run with, despite the shaking. The horse they gave you is too tall. It senses your nerves, steps sideways when you mount, grumbles when you grip too tight. Nako steadies the reins, then lets go. Says, "You don't have to control it, just agree with it." You nod. Loosen your hands. The animal exhales. You ride. Dust rises behind you, but not fast. The fort will wake late today. They always do after lying to someone's face. You take the old trail along the ridge line. It's broken, eroded better, because the smooth roads are where the search begins. Nako rides behind, not beside. He says, "If they're chasing, I'll meet them first." You don't argue, you just ride faster. By midday, you reach the first marker, a pile of 3 stones in a circle, a code your father used for safe turns. You pause there, check the letter, still sealed, still whole, still dangerous. You drink from the canteen, not because you're thirsty, because you need to feel something pass cleanly through you. An hour later, the shot comes. A crack across canyon silence. You duck instinctively. Horse rears. You fall. Nako fires once, then twice. A scream echoes behind stone. He helps you up, checks your side. No blood, but your wrist throbs. He rips a strip from his shirt, wraps it fast. Says, "Next time, don't pause on high ground." You nod, but your hands still shake. You ride again. One-handed. No choice. By dusk, you reach a narrow pass. He stops you there. Says, "Next few miles are yours." Alone. You blink, heart slamming. "You're not coming," he says. "They expect to." Not one. Then steps off his horse, hands you the reins, adds, "I'll meet you at the fork 3 days from now. If I don't, keep riding until you forget who I was." You shake your head, say, "I won't forget." He looks at the letter, then you, then says, softer, "Don't memorize me, memorize what you're carrying." You turn the horse, don't look back. Because some people you remember best by letting them disappear into your survival. You ride alone. The wind cuts differently without another rider behind you, quieter, colder, more honest. The horse adjusts to your rhythm. You stop trying to lead. You just agree. You pass an abandoned trading post by midday, shingles curled, windows broken. Inside dust clings to everything, but the counter is clear. You leave nothing. Take only one thing, a small folded map with 3 names scrawled in the margin. One matches the signature on your father's letter. You whisper, "He was trying to send this place a warning." But someone stopped the message, and someone is still trying to stop you. The trail narrows into river rock and sun-bleached bones. You dismount, walk beside the horse, let it drink when the stream appears, muddy but moving. You wash your face, see yourself in the ripples. The woman staring back looks familiar, but not remembered. She looks like someone who survived something and hasn't had time to name it yet. By nightfall, your wrist aches. The wraps are loose. You redo them with your teeth. You sleep beneath a mesquite tree. The stars pulse above you. You dream of your father's voice, but it's not saying anything helpful. It's just repeating your name, like he's trying to keep you from forgetting it. Morning comes with hooves. You wake before they reach you. 2 riders, men in union blue. You stand fast, hands visible, face neutral. They ask your name. You give a different one, a cleaner one from your mother's side. They nod. One dismounts, says, "Where are you headed?" You say, "To meet my husband. West, near the crossing." He squints, says, "This route's not safe." You answer, "Neither is standing still." He grins, tips his hat. You're not wrong. They leave. You wait until their dust settles, then ride again, faster. By noon, you reach the fork. No sign of Nako, only a pile of ash, still warm, and a small stone laid atop a scrap of paper. You lift the stone, unfold a note, 3 words. Keep going west. Beneath it, a fingerprint, blood dark, pressed beside your own. You fold the paper, tuck it into your boot, and ride. Because no one's coming to finish this for you. But someone already gave enough for you to finish it yourself. You arrive at a mining camp by accident, not on the map, not in your plan. But the horse slows there, ears flicking, like it remembers something from before you. You follow its lead. Men sit around barrels and card tables, faces half-shadowed, eyes hard, but not unkind. You ask for water. Someone points without speaking. You draw a full canteen. Offer coin. The man shakes his head, says, "You look like you're carrying something too heavy for one." You say, "That's why I'm moving fast." He nods, and that's it. You're allowed to leave. But one man follows, not close, not openly. He packs slow, lingers longer than the rest. Your spine knows the rhythm of being watched. You don't let it break your stride. You ride hard for 2 hours. Stop near a creek bed. Then wait. Sure enough, he arrives 20 minutes later. Alone. You say, "You with the men who burned the last crossing?" He says, "No, but I saw what they did to the girl before you." You grip the reins, ask, "Did you help her?" He lowers his head, "No, but I buried her." Silence stretches. Then you ask, "What do you want now?" He says, "To walk beside someone who might actually make it." You study his face. It's not kind, but it's open. You nod once, then say, "Only if you listen." He nods back, "Only if you lead." His name is Elias. He's seen towns collapse over lies, rail scams, land theft, mail-order brides who never arrived but whose names were signed anyway. He says, truth don't just need proof. It needs breath. You think about the letter tucked beneath your ribs, still sealed, still pulsing, still more dangerous than any bullet. That night he teaches you how to mark a trail with soot, how to spot a rifle barrel in brush. You teach him how to fold a legal brief into the lining of a coat. Call it even. Then, take first watch. Because trust isn't declared. It's earned across campfires and shared silence. And you're running out of both. The next town doesn't welcome you, but it doesn't turn you away either. Signs hang crooked. Shutters clap in wind that doesn't carry news, just dust. You and Elias stable the horses in silence, step into a saloon with cold eyes and warm beer. The barkeep watches you like you're a mirror he doesn't like looking into. You order coffee. He makes it without comment. That's trust, frontier style. A woman in the corner plays cards, alone, until she isn't. Men drift to her like moths to still flame. She ignores them all. You know that silence. It's the kind you wear after carrying too many names that never got said out loud. You approach slowly, ask, "You know where the telegraph station is?" She doesn't look up, but she says, "Next town, 30 miles if you get there." You nod. Leave 2 coins on her table, not payment, acknowledgement. She smiles, barely, and turns her next card over like it matters. Elias scouts ahead. You head to the livery. Ask for a replacement stirrup strap. The man says, "We don't barter with strangers." You say, "Then I'll leave as one." He softens, says, "You sound like her." You ask, "Who?" He points to the church steps, a name chiseled in poor stone, Annabel T. Witness silenced. You kneel beside it, place your palm to the rock, whisper, "We're not all quiet." You sleep in a room with no lock, but Elias sits outside the door, hat pulled low, rifle across his lap. You wake at midnight. He says, "They'll send someone soon." You say, "Then I'll stop running soon." He replies, "Only if they hear you." You lift the letter, still sealed, edges worn. Say, "They'll hear this." He says nothing. But when you return to sleep, you dream of courtrooms without windows, and the sound of your name echoing like it's being said for the first time. You reach the next town by noon. The road curves like a trap, but you don't slow. Elias rides a half-step behind. Your coat is buttoned to the throat. The letter presses against your spine. You've stopped checking if it's still there. Now it feels more like it's part of you. The telegraph station sits alone. One story, two windows, wire humming like a bad omen. Inside, a man in spectacles looks up. He blinks. You say, "I need to send a name." He really is. That's not how telegrams work. You unfold the copy of your father's map, lay it flat, point to a symbol beside a marked depot. He stares, whispers, "You're the daughter." You don't answer. He turns, pulls out a leather ledger, opens to a page already bookmarked. Inside, a name you don't recognize, but it's written in your father's hand, and beneath it, "Deliver to witness if she survives." You grip the edge of the counter, say, "What is it?" He slides over a packet, thin, unsealed. You open it. Inside, two affidavits, one signed by a land surveyor, the other by a union major, both detailing fraud and rail grants and listing names you've heard whispered since Tucson. One name is circled, yours to yours. Next to it, verified courier, do not intercept. You laugh. Not because it's funny, because it's so wildly late. He says, "I was told to wait for you." You say, "You almost didn't get the chance." Elias reads over your shoulder, his jaw tightens, then relaxes, says, "This is enough to break it open." You say, "Then let's not let anyone close it again." You send a telegram to Yuma. One word, "Delivered." Then you burn the telegram stub. Some truths don't need trail markers, only impact. That night you sleep with the affidavit sewn into your hem. The letter remains sealed, not because you fear it, but because it's a weapon, and the courtroom is almost ready for it. The train to Yuma arrives at dawn. You board with no luggage, only your coat, your name, and the weight of ink against your hip. Elias stays behind. He doesn't say goodbye, just watches you step into the car like he's handing off a torch he doesn't expect to see again. You nod through the window. That's all. You never asked where he learned to protect what wasn't his. You only know you were safer with him than with most men you've ever known. And that counts for something. The ride is long, flatland, cactus, stations that blur into the same shade of neglect. You sit with your hands in your lap, feet anchored, breath paced. The only movement you allow is the letter shifting beneath your blouse with every jolt of the tracks. You no longer fear opening it. You just want it to land where it was always meant to, not in your hands, but in someone else's record. A marshal meets you at the station, hat low, papers already in hand. He says, "They told me to expect a man." You say, "They were wrong." He nods, leads you to a courthouse with iron doors and no flowers. Inside, walls of dust, pens chained to desks. A judge who looks like he's already tired of what you might say, but you sit, you wait. And when called, you rise, Walk to the front, unbutton your coat, lay the affidavits on the table. Then, without drama, without speech, you place the sealed letter beside them. The clerk lifts it like it might scream. The judge says, "Is this your father's handwriting?" You nod, then add, "The packet was meant for a delivery. It's now a matter of record." He asks, "Did you read it?" You pause, say, "Not all of it. The truth is, you didn't need to." Its weight was enough. Outside the wind is soft. You sit on the steps, watch the flag move without pride, and wait. Because justice doesn't arrive all at once. But sometimes it comes in pieces, torn from the hands of daughters who survived when they weren't meant to. The news spreads slower than blood but faster than apology. You hear it in the cough of train guards, in the stiff posture of court clerks, in the way hotel staff begin calling you ma'am with eyes that flick to your coat hem. They know something was delivered. They just don't know how much of it will stay. You're moved to a safe house, not for your comfort, for containment. They give you tea, a window that doesn't open, guards in plain clothes. You ask for your own copy of the testimony. They say, "It's being reviewed." You say, "So am I." One morning a girl knocks. She wears a courthouse badge and carries ink under her fingernails. You ask, "Stenographer?" She nods, then places a folder on the table. Inside, your words, transcribed, numbered, stamped, preliminary evidence, Civil Trial 243B. You trace the paragraphs. Pause at a sentence that once came from your mouth but feels like someone else wrote it. "I didn't survive to be believed. I survived so no one else would have to be." The girl says, "That one hit me." You close the folder, say, "It hit me too." A week passes. You testify again, not to judges, to reporters. Some listen, some sharpen pens. One woman asks, "What would your father say if he were here?" You look at her. Say nothing, then open your coat. Take out the letter still sealed. Place it on the table between you. Say, "He's been speaking the whole time." Later that night, someone knocks at your door. It's Morrison, hair shorter, eyes heavier. He says, "It's falling apart. 2 generals, 3 contractors, a judge in Tucson." You ask, "You still wearing a badge?" He says, "Only the ones I choose now." Then hands you a satchel. Inside, a stamped envelope, marked with your name, "No return." He says, "From the railroad's legal team." You say, "I'm not settling." He nods. "But you are staying alive." You smile, not because he's right, but because this time it's not up to anyone else. You rent a room above a bookstore, not a safe house, not a holding cell, a room with a lock, only you have the key, too. You wake to paper dust, to the clink of teacups downstairs, to the rare sound of your breath, not bracing for the next command. It doesn't feel like home, but it feels earned. That's enough for now. Your name appears in the Yuma Tribune just once, just a line. Evidence provided by E.T. led to formal indictments in the Boone Rail scandal. No mention of the letter, no mention of the bodies. You clip it anyway. Fold it 3 times. Place it beside the sealed packet, still unopened, still waiting. Sarah writes from the desert. You never met her, but she heard the story third hand from a woman who crossed the canyon and lived. Her letter reads, "They tried to say the storm buried everything, but we remember the map. It still burns." You copy her name into your journal. One more line of witness, one more person carrying the ash forward. Children start coming by the shop, some with mothers who pretend to browse. One boy finds your pocket watch, the one that stopped in the wreck. He asks, "Does it still tick?" You say, "Only when it needs to." He listens close, then nods, like he hears it. That's how you know he will. You receive a package wrapped in oilskin. No return. Inside, a hand-drawn map, a military insignia, and one word scratched in the corner. Continue. The penmanship is familiar. So is the silence it wrote in on. Nicole never promised to write, but somehow you always knew he would. You trace the map. It ends near the border, not as escape, as invitation. That night you finally unseal the letter. Your father's words are brief, measured, more tired than you remembered him ever sounding. He writes, "If this reaches you, I failed, but you didn't. Deliver what I couldn't, then live in a way they'll never see coming." You fold the page, not with sorrow, with finality, because he was never the message. You were. The trial ends in a room that smells like sweat and sawdust. The last witness steps down. The judge clears his throat, and the gavel falls with a sound so small you almost miss it. But it echoes, longer than it should. A sound you'll carry in your chest long after the headlines yellow. They don't sentence everyone. Some cut deals, some vanish. But 2 men lose everything, and the map you carried becomes court record, signed, numbered, filed in triplicate. You ask for the original. They say, "It belongs to history now." You reply, "So do I." They don't answer, but they don't stop you when you leave with your name intact. Outside the courthouse, Morrison waits. No badge, just a satchel and a handkerchief folded tight in his fist. He says, "You were braver than the men in that room." You say, "I had more to lose." He nods, then hands you the satchel. Inside, copies, every page, all of it. He says, "One for every woman who asks what happened." You say, "Then we'll need more paper." You leave town on foot. No parade, no escort, just a bag on your back and the letter in your chest, but not the original. That one stays behind, filed where people will forget to look until it matters again. You carry the copy, because sometimes echoes ring louder than first sounds. At dusk, you camp beside a river you don't name. There is no need. The stars here don't require testimony. You start a small fire, boil coffee, and write your first letter to someone who doesn't exist yet. You address it to the girl who finds this trail. You write, "They buried the truth where they thought we'd never walk. We did. Now it's your turn." You fold it, seal it with wax, and tuck it inside the binding of your old journal, the one that carried your name when no one else would. You reach the sea on a Tuesday, not because you planned it, because the road ended. And you didn't. The air shifts, salt instead of dust, gulls instead of boots, foam instead of blood. It feels wrong to survive this far, but you did, and that makes it right enough. San Francisco hums like nothing you've known. Carriages crowd the streets, papers shout from corners, women wear colors you weren't allowed to consider back home. You walk among them like a shadow with a name, not louder, just real. You find a room above a bakery, cheap, warm. The walls smell like cinnamon and ink. You unpack only one thing, the letter your father never lived to read. You frame it. Not for glory, for grounding. Some truths are only heavy until you hang them up. A week passes, then another. No one knocks, no one follows. You wake without bracing. You sleep without bargaining. One morning, a child delivers a note to your door, scrawled in charcoal. "Are you the one who carried it?" You write back, "Yes, but only because I had to." The child returns, brings another note. "I have something too." You meet her the next day. She's 12, wears boots too big, and carries a parcel wrapped in flour sack. Inside, a journal, torn pages, blood at the corners. She says, "It's from my aunt. They buried her with the rest, but she wrote this before." You don't cry, you just hold it like something sacred. You ask, "Do you want it back?" She shakes her head. "No, I want someone to hear her." You spend the night transcribing each page, each line. Her story folds into yours. 2 testimonies now. 3, counting the one you haven't written yet. You stare at the blank page, then write. I was supposed to arrive quietly. Instead, I arrived carrying noise they couldn't muffle. You close the book, tie the string, and file it under beginnings. Because no matter what the railroad wrote, you were never cargo. You were the delivery.